This is Culture Girl, and we are at the Johnson Museum at my alma mater, Cornell University, Ithaca, New York. I spent most of my time right behind here at the Art Squad, where I was an English major. This is an I.M.Pei building, and John Sullivan was its project architect, and the firm and the architect are also involved in designing and creating this addition to the museum, about to open in October. October 15th is the official date. It's an expansion of the museum to house offices, some gallery space, education space, and so on. But what we're really here to see is another building that has just gone up on campus, for which there's been considerable anticipation. Hard by Cornell's very famous gorge, where the water is more torrential than I have ever in my life seen, and I've come to Cornell a zillion times because I'm an alum and my two children are alums. Hard by this gorge is the new building I was speaking about. It's a sort of startling sight when you first come upon it. It's so different from the more traditional brick buildings of this Ivy League campus. But I think it's made its way very nicely into its surroundings. This is Rem Koolhaas's building, new building for the College of Architecture, Art, and Planning at Cornell. And we're seeing kind of the back side of it here, with an enormous cantilever, inside of which there is a very vast 25,000 square feet open studio space for most of the 200 students in the school. The first two-year students are in one of the old buildings, which is contiguous with this, which enters into this building. And most of the students, as we'll see when we go inside, are happily ensconced in this structure. That striation there is marble. It's Turkish marble, which naturally has that kind of vertical striation. It's been polished in Italy. It doesn't look like marble at all, but it's quite beautiful. The underside here is stamped aluminum. It looks like some of those old tin ceilings you see in older buildings. And here is one of the more unique structures. It is a dome-like structure, inside of which there's an auditorium. This cantilever was originally supposed to be supported by pillars, but landmark people got upset. This is actually a landmark building right here. It has art classes in it. It's called the Foundry Building. And actually a much more interesting solution was found, which is an enormous cantilever, and inside of which is this domed structure. And as we go over there, you'll see that we can look right into the building by looking inside that dome. Now we're looking inside the dome through the windows, seeing students traversing this walkway across, and down below there will often be student critiques going on, sometimes by very famous architects. In fact, Rem Koolhaas himself is expected to be here for the official opening of this building on October 20th, when perhaps it will be completed. Students are very much engaged in their classes and their work in the building right now, but the auditorium, which is also within the dome, has yet to be completed. We'll show you that as we get inside. Here we now are inside that domed structure. You can see that window that we looked into from the exterior, and this is the passageway that we saw students walking on before. Now we're walking on it. And here's that space for meetings, critiques, and gatherings of various sorts. I find it an appealing space, and certainly audacious, inventive, and we'll see other ways in which that's so in a moment. Here we are in the central, most important part of this building, the 25,000 square feet of open studio space for the upper class people in the college, people in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year, as well as graduate students. It's flexible, it's open, people meet and discuss things, they work individually. And undergraduates are still in one of the old buildings. That building is called Rand Hall. But as you can see, everything is open to everything else. It's completely connected. Eventually that's going to be a library, and the overflow studios are going to be in that building, which is the original architecture, art, and planning building called Sibley Hall. As you can see, the wall of that hall is brought right into the new building, and the new building touches it in various ways throughout. I find it a happy meeting of these two buildings, and somehow it all works for me. It certainly doesn't attempt to look anything like the historic Ivy League structures that I knew and loved when I was a student here, but yet I think it works beautifully. We're standing here at the apex of the dome that we looked at from outside. You can see the slope here. Here we're really kind of at the top, and now looking down into an auditorium that's been scooped out, goes below ground, and this is the part that's still unfinished, as you can see. Expected to be finished sometime in October. Hopefully by the time Ren Koolhaas himself gets here on October 20th. Here's a big picture window through which you can see the Johnson Museum edition, which we were just speaking of. And as you can see, the guts of the building are really exposed, making it a kind of object lesson in a way for the students. The lighting is there, the electrical comes down from the ceiling. There are other ducts that cool the space through using Cayuga Lake water as a cooling agent. Cornell has a whole initiative to do that as a green way to go in terms of providing climate control. And the floors have radiant heat. Now I've managed to collar two students who have first been in the original building, Rand, back there, and are now happily ensconced in Milstein Hall. Tell me your names and tell me what you think of the building.
Hey, my name is Nick, and I think this is a great building. I think it puts us into a great learning and professional environment. It's very different from what we had over there, and it feels a lot better.
In what ways is it different and better?
I think there's more space, and it's in a way quieter, but we get to see each other easier. We don't have these big partitions that separate us. The temperature is always much better in here than it was in Rand.
Right, they have radiant heat, and they have cooling from the water cooled from Cayuga Lake, I understand. And you mentioned before it was sort of like a more professional environment. How so?
It's cleaner. There's more open space. The floor doesn't look like it's it doesn't look like it's beat up at all. You know, obviously it's new, but it looks like it's a place we have to keep clean.
Okay, and you are?
My name is Juan Carlos Artelosega. I'm a master's student.
Okay.
And I was also in Rand. Made the switch to Milstein. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, you don't get the chance to study a building designed by famous architects. So
exactly.
I mean, we're just enjoying it. We're just hoping for the dome to be finished quick to not go somewhere else for lectures, to have our own space for that.
You know, we're in different years and we're in different programs. I'm in undergrad and he's in graduate school, and here it's much easier for all of us to
communicating with each other because everything is an open space.
Yeah, I mean, you have the main entrance here, so everyone kind of has to come to this space.
Yes.
So like, you see everyone, you have the chance to go around and look at other projects and all of that. So.
You mentioned the excitement about being in a great architect's building. I mean, what are some of the object lessons that you're kind of living with in your day-to-day life now? What are some of the effects and some of the things you're learning just by being here?
Well, you know, like for architects, you know, we get to design and do all of this, but we never get to actually experience the space.
Yes.
So now an architect designs a space for architecture students.
Now we're on the other side of the exterior of the building, the one that's most accessible from the main campus, and one of the main entrances is right there. And sort of etched into the marble here is the name of the building, very subtle, but it's Milstein Hall. And as we go under this enclosed corridor, which goes under this another cantilever here, the cantilever kind of extends through both sides of the building. you'll see one of the most distinctive parts of the design, the exterior design. These are called the pods. People, I'm told, often sit on them and occasionally with their bicycle use these as moguls, which gets me really concerned about university liability. You can see this is a steep ramp, but apparently they're allowed to do pretty much whatever they want with these pods. Again, you're seeing the dome from the other side, and again the stamped aluminum roof, which goes into the interior of the building as well, as you can see. It's innovative, it's exciting, and now we're seeing it in use. Very good. I guess someone else is photographing as well. And then we see the students running up and down, which I missed, unfortunately. But this is a space that's a lot of fun. On the other side is the original architecture building, Sibley. And now there's a kind of buffer with rough stones. And as we come through the other side, we see this lit glass wall. It's very distinctive at night. I've been here at night as well to see it. And there again, in the distance, is the Johnson Museum addition, where the art museum is expanding and will be opening the new space shortly to the public. And on this side, there's a big staircase tower going all the way up to the top. I have seen students actually walking up here at night, and this is eventually going to be covered with ivy. It's not going to look like a metal gate. It's going to be all green when the final conception is realized. And there are curtains around as well. These are by a designer named Petra Blaze, who does all of Rem Koolhaas's fabrics, I'm told. So an exciting space and an exciting place to learn and study and practice architecture.